Welcome to Reunite with Self podcast. I'm your host, Rukan. Here, we will be discovering and unraveling what is truly holding you back. We will put the puzzle together and give you clarity on how and what you can do to create massive shift in your life so you start creating the life you always envisioned for yourself. My gorgeous listener, thank you for being here. Welcome to another episode on Reunite with Self. I've never done this before. I'm recording this episode sort of very last minute before an important appointment in a hotel room. But I am guessing because this room is so gorgeous, the acoustics should be good. I'm going to do this episode really short and sweet, just as a reminder for you, because if I listen to this episode even now, it will make a huge difference for me for even a validation of something, a knowing that I have inside of me. And if you haven't thought about it, it's going to be a great question opener, a validation, a confirmation maybe to emotions that you may have that you are not really able to define yet what they are or why you're having them. You're going to have more clarity with this episode for sure. So our episode topic today is what is the one common symptom or result of being raised by narcissistic abuse, someone who had narcissistic tendencies, and how to heal it. So in the title, when I say narcissistic abuse, I want to remind you that neglect is abuse. Neglect is abuse itself. So it does not need to be, a grandiose narcissistic person, as I always talk in this podcast, for them to have a huge impact on your life. And this podcast is here to really liberate you from all the BS and for you to start creating your incredible life. So why I'm saying neglect is abuse, because sometimes we might minimize what we went through and what we are still going through. As the wonderful Gabor Mate says, safety is not the absence of threats. It is the presence of connection. Safety is the presence of connection. That's it. So, a common symptom or result of being raised by narcissistic abuse in family might be one thing, and this happens a lot to more to women. I see that you might talk a lot and try to over-explain and try to prove what happened. I'm saying try consciously here, because it's like you are attempting, you're pushing so hard, you are trying, because you don't believe truly, you're not validating, not that you don't believe, sorry, you are not validating, that validation inside of you is not totally present, because that would be enough if it was there. So you talk a lot, you try to over-explain, you give too much information, you try to report what happened to get the validation from the other person to validate your emotions. And it does not need to be, it can be a friend, it can be a partner, it can be a therapist, it can be someone you're talking to in your family. It does not need to be the person who did those things to you. So one common symptom, which I went through a lot, and I still do it sometimes. I am still recovering. I'll be recovering my whole life journey. But when it comes out now, I have even more compassion to myself. And when you see yourself, you might not be even aware of this. So the narcissistic abuse and the accommodation to narcissism in your family might be too high that you're not even aware that you're over-explaining. Why am I saying this? You don't need to over-explain. to get the validation you need. I'm going to go deeper into this, but first of all, I want to tell you what you can do to heal this. What I have realized myself in my journey and what I see now around me. I see this on a reel today, and it just inspired me to do this episode, because what I see around me now is just confirming to me what I'm doing is the right way, is the path to heal it. The number one thing that you need to do, that you must do in this journey, is you need to validate and see and hear yourself and take action accordingly in your life. I'll go deeper into this as well, but let's go back. Why am I saying see and hear? Because if you had narcissistic neglect, abuse, more neglect, abuse on top of that, you're never seen and heard. And mostly what I have been through is that I realized that I never felt heard. Because, narcissism itself, I'm not sure if I talked about this in this podcast. I know I talked about it in my Turkish podcast, but I'm going to do different episodes on this. What I realized, the biggest problem in families right now and in society is not the narcissism itself. That is not the biggest cause of your pain. It's not the narcissism. It's the lack of support from your loved ones. It's the lack of support and validation, lack of validation from the supposedly non-narcissistic family members. It is the absence of validation that causes all the things. So, as a result of not being seen and heard, because you're not validated for what you went through and for your emotions as a child, as a toddler, as a baby, as a teenager, and moving forward, you don't feel seen and heard. So it's not even the abuse anymore that's hurting you. It's the tenfold, the hundredfold of the pain that is caused by not being seen and heard. Yes, this is what happened to you. Yes, this is total BS. It's not acceptable. It's not healthy. That is where there is lack of love. And it should be so hard for you. I totally understand you, and I'm here for your emotions. You don't get to have this in your family, and that's why all the pain is there. That's why it gets tenfold and hundredfold and more. But you can change all of this. At the end of the day, even if we get validation from outside, maybe from people that did not do those things, it's still at the end of the day will not be enough for you to feel fulfilled in your life. At the end of the day, they will be a support to begin doing this to yourself first, and you deserve that, and you should have had that. But if you didn't have it, if you still don't have it totally, completely, if you still don't feel completely seen and heard and feel, liberated, like really free in your family dynamics, then it's a great reminder of the true source of this validation. And that true source that you need and that lies within you is the validation that you need to give to yourself. So from now on, if something happens and you feel terrible, guilty, angry, not even guilty first, I'm sorry. You feel very angry first. But angry, then it might be guilt, then true sadness, any kind of challenging emotion that you go through because of something that someone said or did to you in your family, in the family that you come from. I want you to remember to put your hand on your heart, feel the emotion. You can do a practice to hear what the inner child is saying to you. You can feel the anger of not being seen and heard. Listen to yourself. I can do another episode just on this practice. But when you listen to yourself, to that emotion, to whatever she or he wants to say, that inner child, because then it goes back to other, it's the tip of the iceberg. It has a history. It's not the first time that you're feeling that with that person or that dynamic. So whatever, like this happened and then that happened, whatever she wants to tell you or he wants to tell you, listen to them and validate. Give yourself compassion and validate. Yes, that happened and that is unacceptable. You don't need to explain more. You don't need to say more. That is just unacceptable. That is where there is lack of love. The reason that I'm saying lack of love is because, especially like in Middle East too, but all over the world, whenever someone does something to you to hurt you, then what they say is that I'm doing it for your good. I'm doing it because I love you. I'm saying it because I love you. And then, we hear people talk about whenever they're going to talk about their parents, they say, oh, they're a very good person, by the way. Like, I don't fucking care. I'm sorry for my language, but I don't care. I don't care if that person is good or bad. Like, it's not like, I don't care. You shouldn't care about that. And I can do another episode on just this too. Like, this is the sabotage that you do to yourself to keep yourself in that darkness. That is not like, and I'm not talking about the intentions. Like, I don't care if they have good intentions or that's not the conversation. That's not what's important. Don't put that in your focus because you're going to self-sabotage. And I'll tell you why on another episode. If you want me to talk about it, please DM me on my Instagram, Kevela. It's in the show notes. Please DM me. Do an episode on this. Why I should never think that my mom is a good person or my dad has good intentions for me. Never go there. It's number one thing that keeps you in that darkness and makes you feel unseen, unheard. If you don't see this, like, you're going to live your life like that. But you can make a change today. You give yourself the validation. You don't need anyone's confirmation or validation of what was said to you. Maybe it's something happened recently. You give yourself the confirmation, like, that is not acceptable. That's not love. That's not what family is for. That is where there is a lack of love. And there is no need for over-explanation. I see you, I hear you, I love you, I'm here for you. And I see you, I hear you. I want to hear you. Your emotions are valid. So that's what makes you feel that you exist. Because as a child, if you were not heard, your nervous system, you're always on fight or flight or freeze or fawn, whatever, but you're always in survival mode. That's why you don't feel, it's like life or death for you. That's why you want to over-explain today. That is the reason, because you feel like you're not existing if you're not hurt. It's that scary. It's like life or death. So if you had any narcissistic abuse in your family, such as neglect, which many people, more people than not, had this experience. It was the absence of validation to your emotions, and what will heal you today and what will tremendously help you to start creating your incredible life is for you to validate to yourself what happened, what they said, for example. It's usually not the actions, but what they say or don't say maybe. That's what happened. And that's what it caused, like your emotions. You need to validate your emotions. And there is no need for over-explaining. And then you can look back at your relationships where you feel the need to over-explain. because it should not be necessary in a healthy relationship. Is that a relationship where I can express myself truly and express that, I don't need to over-explain myself. I feel the need to over-explain myself to you when I'm telling you, what this person did or that person did that hurt me. I feel like I need to fight for validation. And what I need is not what I should do, is not the strategy. What I need is simply and just only, simply your validation. You seeing my emotions. You validating to me the reality of what happened and my emotions. If it's a relationship like this, where you think that the person can understand you, you can have a conversation. You can attempt to do this. But if you feel like it's not possible, then there might be narcissism there as well, by the way, or they might be themselves so neglected that they don't have the, they don't have the tolerance to give that to you. You would know which one it is of the three. There might be narcissism there. There might be some light there that you can have this kind of relationship with them, the positive one, or you can say, no, they're not able to give that to me because they're not even doing that for themselves. So they don't have the tolerance. They can't go there. It's too scary for them. And you can decide what kind of relationship you want to have with this person, because when you're not aware of all of this, when you are not in your healing journey, then that's why you attract all the partners and lovers and friends that never validate you, never want to see and hear you. So that is the reason. That is only a result. Like I always say, your adult relationships are results of things. But you are able to change all of this 100%. You are able to attract wonderful people to your life that wants to see you and hear you. Firstly, they want that. And they do. You don't need to over-explain. They see the absurdity of what that person did to you maybe 10 years ago, 2 days ago, or 30 years ago. Doesn't matter. They see the absurdity because they know what you deserve, and they want to give that to you, and they want to see you have that in your life. I love you so much. I hope this was kind of a validation or confirmation to, what you might be going through, maybe today, maybe yesterday, maybe this is something that you want to think about next time you are challenged by someone in your family who has narcissistic tendency and you are trying to over-explain it to people. You don't need to. I see you. I hear you. I love you so much. And I'm sorry for what happened. I'm sorry for what you went through. I love you. You deserve the best, all the highly sensitive, compassionate, open-hearted, empathic individuals. You deserve wonderful things and you will get them. Just be on the path. Just be on the path. I love you. I'll see you on the next episode.